All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. What is good? What is good? What is good, ladies and gentlemen? Of course, you know who I be, the good doc, Dr. Mike TV, back again, once again, but not alone. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in a long time, the good doc is not alone in this one today. All right, so without further ado, I would rather let my guest introduce himself. Mike, please, you have the floor, brother. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the crowd for those that may not be familiar with your channel.
Awesome, awesome. Well, so first of all, for the guys who don't know me and stuff like that, I've been in the Philippines for almost 2 years, actually, and 5 days. And so, but that's 2 years straight living here. But before that, when I was younger, my dad was stationed over here. So I went to school here from grade 1 to half of grade 6. And then during my late 20s, I started going back here to the Philippines at least once a year. And then eventually I decided to move out here pretty much like, I'll say like a part-timer. My goal was 9 months here, 3 months in the States, because I still have my business in the US. But with the whole COVID stuff, it's going to go 2 years straight right now. So it's all good though.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you taking a moment out of your day to come and bless the Good Docs audience with your presence, guys. For everybody in the chat, we'll get to the shout outs later because I do not wish to mince words or waste time. Ladies and gentlemen, time is of the essence when we're talking about tonight's particular topic, okay? So we do not want to waste time. Are modern Filipinas troublemakers for foreigners, guys? That is the question. Are modern Filipinas troublemakers for your foreigners now? Okay, well, I think where we should start is trying to find a base definition of what a modern Filipina actually means. So at least you guys have an idea of where we are drawing our experiences and where we're drawing our information from. So, Mike, would you like to kind of sort of give yourself what you would consider to be a modern Filipina?
For modern Filipinos, like it's hard to just specify because it's unfair to just say there's just one category. I kind of put them in two categories mainly. Two main categories is I would say modern Filipinas who are upper class ones. I'm talking about the girls who are earning middle class income all the way up, and then the ones that goes below that. Because there's a separation that what I see is happening with a lot of them. I mean, so for if we're talking the upper class ones, I mean, these are the girls who are exposed to traveling. These are the girls who's been to the U.S., potentially been to Western worlds, and absorb Western culture because they can afford to be able to put themselves in that. Whereas the lower class ones, those are the ones that are exposed to the foreigners or or exposed to the friends who are dating foreigners or doing that. And so you have to kind of separate in those. I mean, I think both sides will still kind of have a little feel of the Filipino culture, traditional stuff. But as we all know, Westernization, modernization changes people a little bit. So, and so we all have those kind of differences. So, they are aware of, food, for example. They know about certain foods now, whereas before some of them don't. I mean, if you go to the lower class, some of them probably never even been to Jollibee yet, so they look forward to that.
That's crazy.
Just depending. I mean, so so that's pretty much the things. It's just being exposed to Western culture, being modern and stuff like that. And we all know social media has affected a lot here in the Philippines in regards to people learning more about being modern. And the unfortunate part is a lot of them gets the wrong definition of what's being modern, which is kind of affects a little bit.
Right. And in the back of my mind, and I don't know why I thought about this when I heard the words or thought about the words of modern Filipinas, I kind of looked at it as those that were not necessarily straying away from Filipino traditions, but those that were, like you said, more embracive of Western culture, more into it, more, like you said, the ones that are either dating or friends of those that are already dating foreigners, or those that may have cousins that have lived abroad or OFWs. And, they're starting to get those particular talking points from, oh, if you want to be with a foreigner, you have to do this, you have to do that, and things like that. So that was kind of where my mind was in reference to modern Filipinas. But I do have to ask this question. I pose this question to the chat as well, but I pose this one to Mike. Do you believe that a modern Filipina is almost on the level of a modern Western woman? Or do you believe they have the ability to reach such higher levels or peaks in that particular regard?
In regards to what? In regards to how the Western women are acting nowadays with the whole feminist type of
Oh
movements?
yeah, entitlement and feminism,
Okay.
everything, man. Go for it. Yeah.
So, the thing though is with a lot of the more upper class ones, I
Hmm.
think they're able to distinguish it because they've been exposed to it in a slow movement. Um,
Okay.
but at the very same time, as we have to understand, in the Philippines, it's a matriarchal society where women make more money than the men nowadays.
For
Women are
sure.
the one who are working, whereas the guys are, not getting paid stuff. Is it
House
gonna,
husbands.
and
Kind
then
of.
if we go with the
Yeah.
lower type of, modern Filipina, then that's where I'm seeing a lot of dangers happening, because you're starting to see these girls, because they're exposed more. There's one difference where
Hmm.
you absorb the food, the culture, the travel. There's one thing where
Correct.
you're actually dating a foreigner, and now you start getting absorbed with that stuff. So some of these girls, you're starting to see them are being more bold. You're starting to see some of these girls dumping their man and making a decision and doing their own stuff. So you're starting to see the entitlement that they have, that they can
Oh
feel that,
man.
oh, I can make money. It's like just looking at some Filipino vloggers, for example. I can
Hmm.
make money from men. I don't need to give you, I don't need to give you the stuff down there, and I'm still gonna take your money. So the whole
Exactly.
feminist stuff that you start seeing in the West, it just
Right.
baffles me how it's really going down into the lower type of modern type of Filipinas. And
Right.
you can literally say is that the men are injecting the feminist
Upgrading.
movement,
Mm.
you know?
And when you said that it's like, and this is the craziest thing in the world. They're seriously upgrading women, Filipinas more specifically, that would otherwise have already remained here. And why are they upgrading, or how are they doing this? By allowing them to what? Make videos praising these particular types of women. And when these women are hearing these videos come out about foreigners and how they really feel about most Filipinas, it's really, like you said, injecting something into the society that's saying, as a Filipina, these foreigners are going to like me regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, they're going to like me more than they like their own women. So I don't necessarily have to just focus and choose or deal with one, not when I can have many who, at one way or another, are going to intertwine themselves with anything that I have going on socially, social media wise, and everything, which goes back to your main point, guys, Mike, about, social media playing probably one of the biggest roles, if not the biggest role, in the modernization of Filipinas.
Yeah,
And it's crazy.
exactly. And the worst part is that these girls are now getting older. And so there's no difference in like all these feminist women in the US. All of a sudden, they're
Hmm.
like, they have this status, they have guys, pretty much worshiping them. And then they get
Right.
older, and then they're like, now I want a family. But they
Same rules apply.
but they demoted, but they just decrease the price of their body. They decrease the price of all that stuff, because that's the problem. So now these girls are starting to learn in the bottom half, and they're
Hmm.
going to get older. And one thing that these Filipinas need to understand, that when you're 26, 27, the dudes that are going after you don't want you no more, because there's going to be the new fresh of 21s that are turning up and that's learning from you.
Sure.
And the funny part is you're starting to see a lot of these Filipino vloggers, because we know what Filipino vloggers we're talking about. They're
Right.
now interjecting their friends, and you're starting to even see them interjecting their sisters. You're seeing them like, hey guys, let me introduce you to my sister. She's 16, 17. Guys are like, when's her
Ooh,
birthday?
ooh,
What's her name? Oh, is she talking to people? And you're starting to see that. And these girls
dude,
just
it's
don't
scary.
understand that their stock is dropping. And it's just
Hmm.
hilarious. And that's exactly why I'm saying is it's the bottom modern type of Filipinas that are the one who are more like, I guess, having the dangerous westernization or feminization of them, and they just don't know it.
For sure, man. Mike, that's a great, great, great political. non-correct point of bringing up things that are happening in Philippine society as we know it. So, guys, I want to take a moment. I see we have 28 people in the chat. There are 11 likes, guys. Please feel free to get the likes up on the video. We would highly appreciate it. If you guys want to support everything that we have going on over here, please feel free to do so. But like I said, we are happy and blessed that you choose to come through and spend some time with us today. Now and then. Back to the topic at hand when it comes to modern Filipinas. If there's one thing that I've found to be interesting, and you talked about how, for lack of a better term, let's be honest, Filipinas hit the wall. Basically, there's going to come a point in time where they're going to, we'll just call it aging out. Because chances are they may be able to delay that just a little bit. It just depends on the type of content that they're putting out. But eventually, they're probably going to age out. And like you said, with the introduction of younger siblings, with the introduction of younger sisters and things like that, that's going to play a major role. But let me throw this wrench in there. Now, likely me and you, I'm pretty sure we would never deal with women of this particular manner. But let's say, for example, a young lady that you are interested in is already has a very strong social media presence. Let's say she has a YouTube channel. Let's say she has an IG or something, and basically, if you go through her YouTube channel or you go through her social media statuses and things like that, you would say to an extent her product is somewhat promiscuous. Okay, bikini haul videos. Let's just stick to the standards. Okay, because she started this before you, do we as foreigners have the right to say, yo, man, you gotta die that shit down or you gotta dead that? That's not okay in the relationship. Do you have a stamp? Like, let's say she's already modern, she's already there. And granted, like I said, this may not be the type of woman you're dealing with, but do we have a right to put it in the atmosphere that, yo, you might want to calm it down a little bit, maybe change up your content, or just completely dead your whole social media because now you're in a relationship with me, the foreigner man? Basically, what I would assume I'm not going to say that was her dreams and aspirations, but let's just say that because she's opted to take a chance and start dating you, and you kind of made it more official than a whistle. Like, I mean, I'm talking about months in, not just 2 days in or whatever. But do you think us as foreigners have the right to make such, I wouldn't say demands, but demands nonetheless?
Good question. So my answer to that is, if she's out there shaking her rump, doing that stuff, wearing sexy outfits, dancing and all that stuff, you're automatically a fuck buddy to me. That's all you are to me. That's because I cannot, because you just lowered your standard. Other men has seen you done stuff for free, you've done it for free for guys. So you lowered the price of your body. So henceforth, I should be able, as a guy in my mindset, of saying, anytime I tell you to dance, you better dance. And so now there's a difference between what they're doing for social media. Now, if let's say, for example, I find somebody who's a model, real model, not all these Filipinas, they all put that stuff. I'm an influencer, I'm a model in their site, which they're not. A model is somebody who gets paid. If a girl gets paid as a model, like by big brands and stuff like that, then it's okay with me because that's your profession. If your profession is giving out stuff for free, hoping somebody gets you something, that's not going to work for me. It's the same thing as me telling guys that, why would you go after a girl when you look at her Facebook page, there's 600 other foreigners who likes her page? It doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm not going to tell them to do what they want to do, but my thing is that they better understand that I'm not here to convert somebody. And so I can play with you if my mindset is to play around. But I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna play the game of tiring my brain out and be like, you need to remove this, you need to remove that. No, because there's a lot of upper class modern women, Filipinas here, who they have their TikToks, they have their Facebooks or IGs, but they do the pictures and the dances tastefully. They do it tastefully. Are there some bad modern Filipinas that are upper class? Sure. But at the very same time is, look at it, how tastefully they're doing it. And it just makes me laugh. Like, there's this one vlogger, we'll say, who just put a video out just the other day, went to my feed. I'm not subscribed to her, but I've seen her videos. And so it always goes to my feed. So that's my fault. And she did it is our fault. she did a 25-second dance. And then she turns off the comment, from that dance thing. Because she's like, pretty much saying, don't leave any nasty comments. I'm like, my thing is that, listen, you just dance provocatively. That right there is supposed to be for your man. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if you're gonna do like maybe like some of those, I don't know, pomparam, whatever you call those songs, dances and stuff like that.
For
But if you're
sure.
wearing something decent, then it's fine. But if you're like literally having everything out, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, I can't do it. So those people would just be a fun play for me in the weekend.
For sure. But I guess for me, it blows my mind that you're willing to put out such content, but you're going to mute your comment section. You're going to put the content out there with the expectation of people going to see it, but yet and
Hmm.
still you're going to disable comment section so people can't even talk to you about it. Because I kind of feel like if you have to disable the comment section, you pretty much have an idea of the direction of which the comments are going to go.
Exactly.
Perverse, perverse likely, or somebody's going to probably tell you about yourself and you're not willing to hear it. So, I mean, I think you know this and myself as well. When you put out content on YouTube, I mean, nothing that we say, I believe, is controversial. I mean, maybe we say some things that maybe people don't agree with, but at the end of the day, you got to be able to live and die by your words,
Hmm.
and you have to live and die by your content. And it's kind of like, I don't see how it is that we kind of give an excuse for the young ladies over here and the stuff that they do, because you'll have guys that come through and defend it until the day that they die, right? Like, that's, like I said, that's her life. That's what she gonna do, right? So other than you have people who will defend it, but then you have people like you and me that'll be like, well, she looked like she's a good time. Pretty much that's how
Hmm.
we'll look at it. And you have other people who may say such comments, but now all of a sudden we're bastos, right? We're the
Yep.
ones that are rude. We're the ones that they're gonna be pissed off at us because we're actually speaking our truth or what we believe is, what we're seeing. And that is not becoming of a lady at all, but more specifically a Filipina. But with that being said, what do we say to foreigners that their first ever experience or so with a Filipina comes as a result of watching videos like that? And they have an expectation that Filipinas all act like this. I mean, not necessarily what can we do, but I mean, I guess I just want to hear your comments on like what has to transpire in order to change that narrative that you can't expect that every girl in the Philippines is gonna have sexually promiscuous videos or there are as liberated as women in the West like that.
Hmm. So, like, my thing, I always approach in a more empathetical way. I cannot
Mm-hmm,
force somebody to say this is how it is, and if that's their
mm-hmm,
belief, that's their belief. When they're coming in to the Philippines that way, it's because somebody already exposed them in their mind that this is how it is. They already listen to
okay,
somebody. Now, I can give the both ends of things, but that doesn't mean it's going to change who they are.
for
Um,
sure.
what I would say is that there's no difference. That type of attitude is no difference between women in the West. And so you have to understand is you cannot bring your mentality, how you think about women in the West, and approach it the same way here. And
Good
so
point.
what I would tell those guys is that, you know what, number one is the look at the comment section of this woman.
Mm-hmm,
It's not just you. There's
for
other
sure.
people you're competing against and stuff like that. And so at the very same time as if you, let's say, because these girls, they're going to hear, oh, these are province girls. So I'm going to go to the province. I'm going to find me a girl there because this is where they're from. And
Okay.
so you can't expect the real rural provincial girls to be that way. Not all of them are going to be that way. But at the
Right.
same time as, that's how their mindset is. They think that, the whole LBFMs, right? You know,
Yeah.
you know,
We're not gonna do
the whole
that.
LBFM's concept of like, oh, did you know? I'm like, no, no, no. It's just like the US. There's a lot of freaky women who can dance really good in the dance floor in the United States of America, but once you take them to the bedroom, they don't perform like crap. So it's like, understand that some of them here are not fully exposed to that. And
Right.
but the problem that you start seeing is a lot of guys are going after girls that have dated other foreigners. So it's just like just
That's
because they dated a
mm,
foreigner, that doesn't mean that foreigner, that girl knows what she's doing. And
for
so
sure.
I don't know. It just I just come in with empathy and I say, hey, listen, just open up your mind first. Don't because that's why a lot of guys don't want to come to the Philippines. They say they want to come, but the problem is they don't want to break that fantasy that they have of the Philippines. So sometimes they rather keep it in a fantasy level than come here than get, than get depressed because it didn't happen the way they thought.
They're scared
So
of the reality. They're
yeah,
basically scared of the reality. Okay.
yeah.
That's just crazy. All right, so I'm gonna read a couple of comments real quick. Adrian, appreciate you. You asked me where am I from. I'm originally here in the United States from Las Vegas, but I spent a lot of time in Davao City, so that's how I became familiar with the Philippines. Mr. Diaz says these younger women want to act like they are promiscuous, but not be called something promiscuous. In
Hmm.
addition, if a man can't handle dating a younger woman that acts like that, they shouldn't consider dating them. And I like that comment because nobody comes to the Philippines, older gentlemen, to date somebody within their age bracket. It's almost close to impossible. I've never met a man that is in his, I'll say even my age and older, that wants to date somebody their age or older. It's just that right there alone is half of the fantasy. The fact that you believe that you have an opportunity to date someone early 20s, 18, 19-year old range. That's pretty much where, that whole fantasy lies. And if we're going to be honest with ourselves, Mike, what are the? Nah, see, that's kind of hard to say because you might have to directly. I'm not even going to base it on fact, but what are the odds that these guys are going to get women like that? Like honestly, 18 and 19 years old, and you're floating around middle aged to a little bit higher than that. What are your
18,
actual 18, 19? We'll say early
18,
20s.
19, no. 18, 19 or no, because those girls are still puppy love. They're still gonna hook up with that first. They're gonna hook up with their first mistake first, and that's where they could potentially get pregnant. The 18, 19-year-olds, 21s and up to 25s.
Right.
If they cleared enough that they didn't get pregnant by their high school sweetheart,
Hmm.
then that's where more likely some of these guys will. But of course, it's only going to happen when you start looking at their income bracket. So if they are middle class, you can't. It's impossible that a 70-year-old is going to be able to hook up with a 25-year-old because they live life. They already have that. It's not going to happen. It's going to have to happen in the lower class status of people. Is it going to happen? It happens all the time. The
Hmm.
question is for those gentlemen is like they have to understand that it's their funnel is not that big. So
True.
sometimes, unfortunately, is they end up settling, and that's the worst thing ever because they come in with that avatar that they only want to hook up with a girl who's 21 to 25 and nothing more than that. And so
For
they
sure.
limit that possibility. What about the 26 to the 27s, the 20
Right.
26 to 30s and stuff like that? But when you're stuck with that type of a funnel, especially if you're like in business, well, you're limiting your potential stock. And then if you go to if you go to like where other guys are going,
Hmm.
the other so let's just use I hate to use this city because then we're gonna start seeing Epstein Island in your comments. But let's say they go to Dumaguete, right? If they go to
Okay.
Dumaguete, who's in Dumaguete? All the other 70-year-olds, all the other 65-year-olds. Um,
Right.
then right now you have your competition even more because you're competing against the smaller stock and also that. But of course, all you gotta do is hang out with the other guys because those girls will bring in their friends that are willing to hook up with a 70-year-old. So it's still about networking. Is it gonna happen? It happens every day. I see them. I see them with the young girls. When I lived in
Mhm.
Florida for freaking 2 years, my house is still there in my community because I live in a golf community and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I've seen like at least 7 or 8 couples where the girl's like you think that she's the caregiver, but no, she's the girl. She's
Actual
the
girlfriend.
wifey. So there's chances, but only in the Philippines. That's why it's funny what they say with the tagline in the Philippines. Only in the Philippines. It's more fun in the Philippines because that
True.
really is. That's why I call the Philippines Disneyland of the Disneyland of adults of the
Grown
guys.
man's Disneyland. Yeah,
Yeah.
I used to
So I
refer
mean,
back in. Yeah, I used to call Angelique City that a long time ago. I said that's
that's
grown
it.
man's Disneyland. Yeah, and you're right though, 100%. But I did read something interesting in the comment. My man MV, he said, "Sorry, Doc Mike, I'd rather date someone closer to my age. I don't like swimming in the kiddie pool." Okay, I get that one. But somebody said something interesting about. There you go. He says, "My thoughts are the same as you. Have to have something in common." That's your tagline. That really is your baseline. How can you feel as if you're going to have something in common with someone who is 18 if you are in your 30, 40s, or 50-year-old age range? How can you honestly expect to be able to communicate? Now, again, I'm saying that if you're looking for a relationship, of course. we know the majority of men traveling to the Philippines are likely looking for a good time. And I don't fault you for it, because I mean that's just pretty much the reason why the majority of men come. But without having that baseline or something in common, man, I kind of feel like you you do yourself a disservice. I mean, I don't know about you, man, and I don't want to bring in this particular talking point of conversation, but fuck it,
Uh-huh.
we'll do it. But for myself, man, I mean, I was good the first, 2 or 3 years in country. I mean, your tenure right now is about 2 years and some change, right? So you might be at this level, but maybe not. And I'm not directing it directly
Hmm.
at you, but 2 years in a game, 3 years in a game of having fun, all out, day in, day out.
Hmm.
I don't know about you, but does it get boring? Like, I mean, I'm not like specifically addressing it to you specifically, but do you think that after a while it gets boring? I mean, because that's a lot of money spent. Let's be honest. I mean, between girl A, B, and C, if that's how you choose to play it, and the places that you choose to go, and the activities you choose to partake in, everybody likes to believe that you're not going to come out of pocket for anything. I mean, you actually think that you're just going to be able to do everything for free. I mean, do you ever think it'll get to the point where foreigners will ever get tired of that particular lifestyle for themselves if they spend that particular time in country?
People can get tired out. You need to find out. Your if you're going to be living here this long enough, you cannot make your primary occupation is girl hunting, because it is going to be tiring. It's going to get mundane. So you have to find other things that you want to do. I mean, I've been in a
Yeah.
relationship since November, so
Okay.
that's where I'm at. But the first few times, I didn't just go out every day to look for a girl. That wasn't my goal. But it
Hmm.
happens where you do go out for yourself. Secondary happens where you find a girl. And so it's not like I'm going to the same place. I'm not that guy that all of a sudden I walk in, everybody knows me who I am, because I go to the same place all the time. I've traveled around, done all that stuff like that. But the women part, looking for women, is always secondary for me. It's about enjoying what I have. And so
For sure.
the women part, it just becomes a plus. Now there
Oh,
are some guys that are working on against time. So of course those guys are going to try to sarge out as much as possible. But the thing that people need to understand is that it costs money. Not everybody, is a Jollibee girl. Not everybody is a Mang Inasal girl that's where you take them and stuff like that. But that's if I'm saying it's a relationship based system. But if it's
hmm
all about having fun, don't feed them.
right.
That's just, you don't need to feed them if you're just here to have fun. I mean, I don't even buy girls drinks. I don't believe in buying girls drinks. Never did in the US. And the reason for that is because in the US they always try to say, hey, buy me a drink. Or you want just to get the 5 minutes of their attention, you have to buy them a drink. I don't do that. And so I
Yeah, that
carried
makes no
that over
sense.
here. But if
Hmm.
somebody gives me attention, we're talking, having a conversation, maybe 10 minutes without asking me to buy a drink, I'll offer a drink from there. But
Okay.
the drinks here are expensive. People getting
Hell
up,
yeah.
it's no joke. It's no,
Right.
especially if you go in the right places. And
For
I hang
sure.
out a lot in Makati, Manila, and BGC area. So, it
That's
adds up.
that's the upper echelon, upper scale type of
Hmm.
atmosphere. So you can expect to pay premium prices. But you said something that I want to tackle real fast.
Hmm.
We don't have to go. Yep. No, we could do this one for a minute. We often talk about leaving our Western mentality back home. What things do we learn in the West that you think would be beneficial to bring with us to the East? Outside of the mentality of, yo, I don't buy drinks for you because I never did it for women over here, so why am I going to do it over here? What do you think benefits you the most? What type of Western mentality or thing that you learned while living in the United States do you think benefits most foreigners the best to translate and bring it with themselves to the Philippines?
I say be you no matter what when you come here. Like, still
Hmm.
bring everything that's about you, but the thing though is figure out what didn't work for you in the US. Because if it didn't
Okay.
work in the US for you, trust me, don't bring it here, because it's not going to work here either. Now, they have that stereotype stuff. You can find out who's an American right away in a crowd. The
Hmm.
way for some reason we walk, the way we stand, you can pretty much almost spot an American easily. But the thing though
Hmm.
is Filipinas do enjoy being with somebody who knows who he is, who so you can't just all of a sudden come to the Philippines and find out that, well, the Filipinos are kind of feminine sometimes, right? So maybe I'm gonna change myself, because what happens is
Right.
if you change yourself fully, it's gonna
Hmm.
mess you up, because then you lost your own identity.
For
I
sure.
would say one thing though is, number one is leave your politics behind. That's
For
one
sure.
thing. Don't bring politics here. Number two is, in majority of when we say in the U.S. are Christian based. Okay, and my thing is, understand that this country is majority Catholic, so we have to understand, you don't try to mess with it, because 80% of the chance you're going to deal with a Catholic, and you don't touch that subject. I've seen a lot of guys be like, I can't believe that they're doing this, and I'm like, dude, it's not your country. And
Yeah.
so, and that's the thing. But politics, religion, those two things should never be. Number three is the American stuff of like, I know better, and you
Right. That
guys should listen
mentality.
to me.
Right.
You can have
Right,
that
man.
mindset and thought, but don't convert it to them, because they're, with the whole balat sibuyas, thin skinned, you're gonna offend them. I mean, they get offended easily. I
Oh
mean,
man, it's
the
sensitive, bro. It's super sensitive, man. Filipinos are very, very sensitive. That
yeah, I
saving
mean,
face thing is
yeah,
for
if you
real.
see
Real
my
talk.
if you see my comment feed with the Filipino men, I'm not even talking, I get more hate comments and more hate email from Filipino men who are trying to pretend that they want to defend the women as much as possible. And I'm just like, dude, don't bring that here. So it's like, yeah, just don't bring politics, don't bring religion, you know, don't bring also the whole class mentality. Don't come here saying that I'm an American, I'm better than you. And just respect, just get the respect out of the way. Be respectful.
Yeah, man. You gotta be respectful here, man, because they travel in droves, man. They travel in some serious, serious groups. And I've dealt with a lot of foreigners that are like almost accepting of the challenge of, the combativeness that could come with making particular comments and things, right?
Mhm.
And you're right. Even with me and some of the older videos I had out, a lot of the comments come from the guys, or at least it's perceived to be guys, I guess. You never know. But
Mhm.
everybody's gonna feel a certain type of way. But yeah, you're right. That fake defendingness of their women is kind of laughable at best, because
Mhm.
they don't really mean that shit. But it's just, when you've lived there, like I said, like when you've lived there for a specific period of time, like even with me going to school and the whole Catholicism and thing like that, I went to a Catholic school.
Okay.
That's where I graduated from a Catholic school. Every day at 12 noon, regardless what we're doing, we stop and pray
Mhm.
regardless. In the middle of the class, teacher stops. We listen to the prayer come over the intercom. You stop. You're locked in. We used to have mass once a month. Clockwork. We used to have to be locked into the school. We would want to leave, but we can't leave. So, these are just the things that, regardless of whether you agree or disagree, you just
Mhm.
have to accept, because again, this ain't us. This ain't where we come from. This is going to always be something new. This is always going to be a new experience. I can say probably for the first 6 months you're there, you're going to probably experience a little bit something new every single day if you find yourself out and about, before you actually start to get used to it.
Yeah.
But since you've been there for 2 years, and granted, you kind of have a step ahead of the game. Haven't lived there when you were younger, and myself, being there when I was in school. But from somebody on the outside looking in, somebody looking to move there, how long do you think, and I know this is different for everybody, but how long do you think it would take for you to not necessarily become accustomed to the Philippines, but to kind of get your footing and to kind of like feel your way through things? How long do you
Mhm.
think it would take for your average foreigner? We'll just base it on average, considering that everybody's different.
I think an average, at least a good month, will get somebody acclimated. But the thing though is, they have to first of all immerse themselves. Some guys,
For sure.
some guys end up coming here and they hang out with other foreigners, or they hang out in the more modern bars. I mean, just a good example. I mean, if you go to Angeles City, all the guys are hanging around one bar or two bars here and there all the time. And so, but
Hmm.
they're not allowing themselves to actually fully immerse themselves with the public as much as possible, and I respect
Right.
that. But so I would say always, like, when I was my first 3 months here, I moved around.
Okay.
I went to a lot of different places. I mean, I was stuck for, like, I have 2 months. I was in Cebu 6 months. I had a condo leased for 6 months there,
Okay.
but every month I would spend a week somewhere else just to
Okay.
see, figure out where I was at. But that's
Mm-hmm.
me being a little bit over excessive, going to multiple places. But
Right.
where you are and you end up living here is you need to walk around. Don't just, you had to force yourself, to get acclimated with the people here as much as possible. But at the very same time is you can totally just watch a bunch of videos, read a couple blogs here and there, and
Mm-hmm.
that enough can actually help you immerse yourself so that when you experience it, like, when you experience it happen to you, you're like, oh, I heard about this. So it doesn't shock you. I think if you really come here, not knowing anything, you're going to get shocked. I mean, it's tough enough that you're going to get shocked here with the smell.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, don't do that.
So,
Don't do that. Yeah.
I mean, a good example is like the first time I brought my best friend here, 2003.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was amazing. The whole trip, Cathay Pacific and everything like that, just perfect. We had business class. I was like, dude, let's do this right. And what ends up happening was we get off the airport. He's like, oh, this is amazing. And then we start driving. And then, of course, he's like, I want to experience this. And he rolls down the damn window.
Biggest
right?
mistake.
And we're passing by, and he was just like, what the hell? He's like, what the hell? And we got in at like, like it was like 11 at night and stuff like that. And he's like, what's the smell? He's like, where are we? What's going on? And he was like freaking out, and then we go by the bad areas, and he's like, what's this? And I'm like, oh, we're staying. And I was like messing with him. I was like, we're staying around the corner. He's like, no, so that's it. I think the smell is the first thing that gets you,
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen, if you haven't seen an Imbornal, I'm talking about the black water, pulled up in the side of the road stuff, where it just turned black.
Right? It's just been sitting there for like a decade.
Sitting there. If you have not been exposed to one of those, you're gonna get shocked. You're like, what's going on here? And the worst one ever is if you ever like walk around drunk and you end up actually putting your foot in that sucker, and then walk home stinky and stuff like that, but you're drunk. So that's the thing. There's gonna be a variety of different things that's gonna happen.
For sure.
Another example is like our second day in the hotel. The first time I brought my best friend, I'm going to visit his room. I'm like, and the door's open, attendants are there. I was like, what's going on? I'm like, what happened? What happened to him? And the lady goes, there is an epis in the bathroom, a cockroach. And he freaking called maintenance to have the cockroach removed. And I'm like, bro, are you serious? I was like, just kill it. And he's like, no, man, I need to change my room. I was like, bro, we need to have a talk. So I literally had to sit down and give him a talk. And it was my fault. It was my fault because I never helped him understand what he's going to expect. And so most people coming here blind, not researching, is going to get, one of those things. So the more you read ahead of time, the more you watch videos, then you come here, it's going to be a lot faster for you.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. All right. So I see we got 36 in the building, 27 likes, man. We would appreciate you guys getting the likes up on this video. Definitely sharing it with somebody. This is definitely a great gem to have my man Mike on the channel. Your current location is where, sir?
Quezon City.
Quezon City, good old QC. Is that near the SM Fairview part of Quezon City, or no?
Yes, I'm more close. It's a little. I mean, everything's close in Fairview, pretty much if you're in Quezon City.
That's pretty much the heart of it.
I'm in the New Manila part, so like off Balete Drive. Like there's the Robinson's Magnolia Mall. So it's right by the MRT, and so I'm right there.
That. All right. So in reference to the lockdowns, man, how has it been for you, being in the Philippines during lockdown? I mean, like I said, I got out before things got hectic. So I've been back home and, I can only look at it from the outside looking in. And it's always good to be able to have somebody to have the conversation with, somebody who's living through it. I mean, I know in Davao it's fucking crazy. I mean, QR codes, contact tracing, I mean, lockdowns and everything like that. But for yourself, first thoughts. I mean, what's really going through your mind through lockdowns and everything like that? Bothering you? You're not really pressed by it. What really, where are your thoughts on with the lockdown so far?
It didn't bother me as much. And the reason why it doesn't bother me is like, I'm a nurse. So that's my main profession, working in the 4 ICU and ER. So It didn't
Mhm.
bother me as much. I just knew it was just a contact isolation, droplets. So I'm like, all right, this is all I need to do. It's like I'm not going to worry about what other people are doing. I'm going to worry what I'm going to do, because that's how I'm going to do it. And then another thing is, I've always been prepared. I mean, I have the first lockdown happened, when they just did it pretty much overnight, and
Mhm.
people were freaked out, and I'm just like laughing, because I'm like, I have 3 months of supply of canned goods. Like, I
Okay.
had food 3 months ahead that's going to last me, and I've always done that because my parents taught me that years ago. By the time
Okay.
I already knew what was going on, and all I did was go downstairs to the mini stop, and I literally bought all the Copicos. I bought all the different
Mhm.
things, and I was like, I'm gonna stock up on these. These are all mine, because that's all I did. Did it affect
Right.
me? Not really, because at least I have a large place, and so I can still go from one room to the other. I kind of set up my rooms a little bit differently. So I kind of gave that. Living in a condo makes it a lot easier, because there's so many, places that you can chill here. Um,
Yeah.
so it's not really that bad for me, but I do know a lot of people who had it bad. I mean, I really, really, I did, about 6 months ago, I did a medical mission, and
Okay.
and it sucks what you're seeing with what's going on with a lot of people. It didn't affect me,
Mhm.
because I always made sure I was ready for things. So that wasn't a problem for me. But even like right now, with what's going on right now, I just walk downstairs. I don't need to eat. I grab everything. Everything I do is grab. So, even though before the lockdown, I've always ordered food 4 times out of the week. So
Mhm.
there was not that much change for me as much. And
Right.
so I guess that one was good. But one thing that you do kind of miss is like going to restaurants, going to a bar. Like, I have not gone to a bar, an outdoor bar, or just like, having some chit chat with a lot of people. Um,
Mhm.
I always try to meet at least 3 to 5 new people every day back in the days. And
Okay.
back in the days, meaning last year. So,
Seems
so
so
it's
far
like,
ago, don't it?
yeah. So it's like back in the days, and so it's like, I don't know. It's just that's the sucky part. So in a way, like, doing these things right here, like, this live right here,
Mhm.
allows me to meet people nonstop, which is helpful for me,
Basically what
in
you
a
look
way.
forward to in the beginning. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
basically what you set out to do. And like I said, with every new live stream, with every new video that you put out, it always brings at least one new person in that says, "Hey, man,
Hmm.
found your video. We love it." Like I said, for anybody here, I'm pretty sure you guys already are. The link to Mike's channel is in the description area. You can click on it. You can go directly to his channel. I don't think there's an icon because you didn't type anything in the chat, so they can't click into the icon. But yes, his channel information is already in the description box. If you guys aren't already over there, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys came over to check us out over here from his channel, so we appreciate that 100%. I know we kind of promoted it across platforms and stuff like that, so good to see you guys in the building. So when are you planning to go back to the United States, or it's something that you haven't really thought about with all things that are happening right
The moment the doors open, I will. So pretty much, if they open up saying that you can come back with, right away, then I'll go. I have a lot of stuff to do in the US. So, the moment that they open up the doors, I'm out the door. I'm going to be gone for at least 60 days, max.
now?
And so at the same time is, so I'll hit my 2 years, in 5 days. And so what's going to end up happening is, at least I can just do it's my visa run anyways. Maximum is 3 years, but it sucks for a lot of foreigners that are having to leave because of their visa run. So some of these
For
guys
sure.
I known several the guys that they don't even know when they're going to be able to come back. Like, two
Hmm.
people from my floor had to leave because their own lawyer was telling them that, don't overstay, because you don't know what's going to happen with the changeover with the laws, and you might get blackballed and stuff like that, and blacklisted. And so, some of these
For
guys had
sure.
to go back to their respective countries.
Right.
You
And you
know?
said you got a business for yourself over in the United
Mhm.
States.
Yeah.
Can't not go into details, but what kind of business do you have for yourself back home?
I have a couple home care companies, a couple home care, home health companies. I
Awesome, man.
also do consulting for sales and marketing for the medical field. And
Hmm.
so, so it kind of still, because I do a lot of my coaching consulting on video
Skype calls
anyways.
and yeah,
And
Zoom.
I
Yeah.
have my other channel that's just strictly just to get clients and customers. And So that's pretty much all I do. So, but like my digital marketing agencies, where we also work with medical companies, that we do Facebook marketing, YouTube marketing, you know, content creation stuff. So that's,
Sweet.
yeah, and they're all Filipinos. Like 90% of my employees are Filipinos because a lot of them are here in the Philippines.
Damn right, man. It's easy to work with them, man. And,
Mhm.
definitely, a good salary for them doesn't necessarily have to break the bank. That's the best way to look at it, for sure.
Exactly.
And how long have you been doing that? How long have you been,
The digital marketing portion of my company has been going on for 4 years. Consulting has been going on for 7 years. I've owned home health agencies since 2002.
2002? So
Mhm.
when did you officially, not necessarily retire, but actually stop in hospital nursing? Because I assume that's what you were doing before, or no?
I was still doing it while I owned businesses.
Oh, okay.
So, because when you're first starting a business,
You never quit your real job, for
you
sure.
can't quit your real job, right?
Yeah.
Until the new job can replace your real job, you ain't
Mm.
quitting yet. So I was working like 80 hours a week for like I've missed Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, Thanksgiving Eve, Thanksgiving Day. Every single holidays I worked it for 5 years straight. You know, and so I hustled
What
for
it
the
takes,
business
man.
and then eventually found people to run my business for me because I came across that book by Robert Kiyosaki, and he was just like, you know, these are the different types of businesses. And I was like, I don't want, so I didn't want to be the guy who owned a business. His name was in the business, but then he still worked full time for the business. So
Yeah, that's not
with
how
that
it works.
mentality, I was like, I need to change it. And so I literally did that 4 years ago with the mindset with that. And then when I got introduced to doing digital marketing more in the Philippines, when I hired a staff here to do stuff for me for sales,
Mhm.
it just made it go super fast. And I was like, oh,
Right.
okay, time to retire. You know, I mean, I pondered between Colombia and the Philippines. You
Definitely.
know,
But you've already been to Colombia before, or not quite yet?
I lived in Colombia for 6 months.
6 months? Compare and contrast. What's the first thing
Two
that comes to mind?
two
I
different
know
worlds.
women wise, I mean, listen, because that's where the mind's gonna go. I mean, yeah, I'm aware of the statures and statuses of women as
most
well,
beautiful women in
man.
the world are from Colombia. I'm sorry, I hate to say that, but uh, the cost of living is, I will tell you, is almost comparable and sometimes cheaper over there.
Sweet.
But you have
Mm.
to understand is that you know, my Spanish is like crappy Spanish, so I still. But if you have to understand, in Colombia, it's like if you don't speak Spanish or know anything about Spanish, don't even go, because you can't expect everybody to be able to speak English over there. You
Right,
know,
not like in the Philippines.
not like the
Yeah,
Philippines. Yeah.
I think that's where they got us spoiled just a little bit, man. I'm not saying that it keeps us from learning the language, but it does keep us from having to learn it when
Hmm.
everybody is going to communicate with you in English. And let's keep it real. Most of us learn different languages specifically to be able to talk to the women. So,
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure that's pretty much one thing you definitely have to make sure that you do for yourself, or at least, like I said, base, whether it's crappy or not, but at least have a base understanding of, some Spanish. I would assume so.
Yeah, I mean, my Tagalog is third grade Tagalog, as my tutor explained to me. So, you know, I'm learning Tagalog pretty well. So, you know, but it's third grade. I mean, it's you know, I mean, you know, I'll
I'm
get
learning.
laughed at by Filipinos. And the thing though is, if you're a foreigner here, it's hard to learn Tagalog unless you force yourself, take a tutor, take classes, because everybody
Hmm.
else wants to practice their English with you.
That's what I told people. They'd be like, "You spent all this time in the Philippines. How come you didn't learn it?" First of all, I tried to learn Tagalog until I moved to Davao. Davao, they don't speak Tagalog at all
No.
unless I speak to them in Tagalog. Of course, it's Visayan. So, and everybody wants to use us, the foreigner, as their way of learning English. So, like I
Hmm.
said, for us to learn the language, we're not forced to do it at all because
No.
everybody wants to practice, practice, practice on us. So it's kind of like, you know, unless you hire a tutor, like you said, man, you're pretty much going to be, stuck in, however you
Mhm.
slice it. So, man, hours up, bro. Like
There
I
you go,
said,
man.
man, I only wanted this to get through for an hour. Like I said,
Sure.
everybody's got things to do. Did not want to waste anybody's time outside of the 1 hour mark. Normally we could do this for longer, but I respect everybody's time. So first things first, I want to share my appreciation for my guest Mike. Call this the Mike and Mike show. That seems pretty awesome. So I appreciate my guests for coming through, and I appreciate those that came over from Mike's channel to come check out the Good Docs channel. So we appreciate you for being here. For all of my loyals who come through and show support, thank you guys for returning. I don't have time to go through the chat like I normally would, but I definitely want to show my appreciation to all of you guys. But like I said, before you leave, just make sure you get the likes on the video. Mike, I'm going to give you a moment if you have any final thoughts, anything that you want to add, anything that you want to say, whether it be about the topic, anything that would be beneficial to foreigners traveling in, whatever it may be. You have the floor, sir. Go ahead and say your piece, and I'm going to let everybody go on.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is that no matter what you hear from, from what we're talking about or other channels and stuff like that, if you have not been here, just enjoy the experience and really do something about it and really come over here. There's always going to be negative things about everything. My thing is that look at the positive things that you can do. You can say that you're the first person from your family that went to the Philippines, but at the very same time is you've been watching, if you're in this content, if you're in this niche, this space, you're putting your time in already. So I would say is reap the benefits of the time that you're offering, that you're putting in these videos, and actually come to the Philippines and enjoy yourself. In the end, there's no downside. If you don't find that significant other you've been looking for, or the girl that you're supposed to meet pretty much didn't turn out right, there's always other fun things you can do here. And I'm not even going to say what fun things there are, but you guys already know what fun things that you can do here. Just enjoy it. Just literally enjoy it. And so I would say just when I'm fearful that a lot of people use the COVID-19 as a reason to say, oh, if COVID-19 didn't come, I would have been in the Philippines already. The thing though is, guys, when the doors open and if you don't fly out over here, then that means you might not get here at all. So just like jump the gun and just come over. You guys have saved enough money.
Should. For sure. Yeah. Take a leap of faith, ladies and gentlemen. You can listen to videos constantly all day long, but if you don't, like I say, have a proactive plan, chances are you'll be saying that 2 or 3 years from now, like, yeah, man, the Philippines has been closed because of COVID, man. I ain't been able to go over there. I ain't been able to enjoy myself. Yeah, but next time, man, I promise you, next time I got you. Yeah, we've been there. We heard that. But yeah, Mike, appreciate your time, my brother.
All
Everybody
right,
in the chat, I appreciate you guys. Y'all stay blessed. Y'all stay true. Doc and company are out. Take care, guys. Peace.
Bye.